first of all, just to recap of what was done last week before the previous session and this session. We closed 3 PRs, and as you can see, so we had I opened up 3 issues related to some styling changes and also just like content changes that I wanted to do. And 3 of you actually did those and closed the PRs. So the first one was, actually, I guess I'll go in order. The first one was the in progress component. And this was actually, let me bring up the website so we know where we were talking about. So the in progress component is basically this. It's a coming soon page that's displayed in both /calendar and /blog. And this was done thanks to Metal. Then we, Larry also did the resources page, styled the resources page. Now this looks much nicer. This is already pretty good, like usable instead of our Google Doc. So I'm pretty happy with this. And last but not least, we also, you'll notice that some fonts changed. This is Google Sans, the official Google fonts. You'll notice, like, if I go to Firebase docs, for example, this is the same font they're using for like headers and labels. They are using a different font for the body text, which we'll probably want to revisit. Using everything as Google Sans is not the best idea, but I think it works for now. And yeah, it's worth mentioning that this also is responsive. So on mobile, this looks pretty good as well. We made sure that this goes nicely and looks nice on mobile and desktop. Okay, so thank you everybody who contributed. And yeah, if you want to contribute in the future, I'll open up some more issues, and you can definitely reach out and we can sort something up. For example, one of the outstanding ones is styling the header menu. You'll notice that, and we've talked about this with Larry in the PR, that the header is not the best shape. We probably want to put like a logo at the top left, make it a hamburger menu for mobile, things like that. So yeah, if anybody is interested in taking that, more than welcome to. All right, but today I'm going to focus on the calendar page, and I actually think today is going to be pretty chaotic because I'm not sure which direction I want to go, and we'll see how the session goes. Once again, if you have any questions during the session, feel free to post them in the chat. And yeah, so for the calendar page, I want to make use of our Firestore database. Basically, it's like a CRUD page where you can add events, where admins would be able to add events. So what I would be happy if we can do today is just displaying stuff from Firestore back to our users, but that data is fetched from Firestore. That would be great. And also maybe we will work on some styling. So displaying that calendar page as actual columns and rows, basically like you would see a Google Calendar, something similar. And yeah, I think that'll be a good goal to accomplish.
Just one question, actually. Sorry for interrupt.
No.
Like we can work on this, like this to-do list, right? As you are mentioning it, we can contribute.
Sorry, say that again.
Means we can contribute in these features, right? Which you have just explained right now, like.
Well, so you'll notice that I have set up some labels for different tickets. So for example, the ones that the guys did, they are labeled up for grabs, which means that anybody can contribute. And these are very these are smaller issues, which are very manageable and doable. The ones that don't have this label, you can also take on, but just make sure to, I'm actually going to expand one of these and show how this looks like. So for example, Larry pinged me that he wanted to work on this issue. So make sure you do the same thing. I just verified a couple of things and then I assigned him to this issue that he's working on this. On bigger issues, we'll probably have more discussion and maybe we would even split tickets into smaller ones so more people can contribute. But the general idea is, yes, you can contribute to whatever feature you want, maybe not the session content. So whatever I label as session content, I plan on actually doing during the session. So please don't take these, but otherwise you can comment on them and I'll reach back to you and we can talk about like you contributing to it.
Okay, so is there any like particular technology we have to use like while developing this, or we can use our own technology? Like this project actually, what technology it has been using, like which language or which framework we are using?
We're using React and JavaScript.
Okay. Sure.
It's been plain, like for styling, it's been plain CSS up until now. And I hope we'll probably continue that. But yeah, it's a React JavaScript project.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before I jump into this? Okay. So I'm going to set up a new branch for my ticket here. I'll say, so GCB is actually a alias for get checkout -b. So essentially you would want something like, if you want to create a new branch off of the one you're currently on, you would say get checkout -b for new branch and type in the branch name. But I also have get aliases set up, so I can just type GCB, and then the branch name that I want is feature dash, what is our feature ticket 14. I'm just gonna say calendar. Yeah, that'll probably be it. So we're on a new branch, and the page that I want to work on is under pages calendar. We have calendar.js, and right now it's just rendering coming soon. Which is not very exciting. Okay, I'm gonna close this because last time I confused myself real bad with like the production version and the local version. I'm gonna serve our project so we can work on this. And for that, I'm gonna do npm start. All right. Here we go. So here's our calendar page. And what I'm thinking for this, I just want to, just to start, let's probably focus on the Firebase aspect and then style it so it looks like a grid. So for now, I will just render a list of events on the page and they will look very ugly. But then we will style them so it's actually bound to the dates where they're at. So let's probably do that. So I don't want to render the coming soon page anymore. And instead, I want to have some sort of a list that represents my events. And it's going to be hard-coded for now. So let's think of what would an event have in our structure. So I probably will have a title. I'm actually going to describe this event. So coding Mondays part 3. Then it will probably have a description, something like, I don't know, setting up the calendar page. So we also want the date when this event is on, and then I'm thinking like date type of the start and then the duration of the event. I think so. Let's do start time. I'm just gonna do like new date for now. And the duration is 1 hour. This will probably be increments of, yeah, this is probably gonna be like a double of hours. And I think that's everything we need. I don't think we need anything else. Maybe like links, but that might be in description. I'll leave it as this for now, and then we can go forward. So I'll probably add like 3 events. Like suppose we have, right now I'm just mocking the database. Suppose we have like 3 different events that nodes to like game night and like info session. I just want to render a list, a basic list. So to do that, we would use something called a map, because we want to take each one of these objects and convert them to actual HTML elements in the screen. So I want to, I'll probably leave this div because we want to style it in the future. And then I'll do something like events.map. And then for each event, we want to render something. Let's actually do the same approach we did on the resources page. So if you check out the resources page, and I know this because I've been reviewing this PR, but this page has a function that renders one resource, and then it's, well, all it does is does a resources map and calls this function for each resource. By the way, if you haven't heard about like map functions or filters or for each on an array, I'm highly encourage you look into it at some point. These are very common functions that you'll encounter in a lot of JavaScript development if you're not familiar with this. But yeah, what a map function essentially does is it takes an array and converts it to an array, but each object is slightly different. It applies this function to each of the objects to change its signature. So let's do something similar. I'll have a function to render an event. And this function will take the event. Oh, also, I'll probably have IDs for each event because I want to differentiate between them. These will be strings. And it doesn't really matter what they are, but from Firebase, we'll extract actual IDs. Cool. So we take in an event. And we'll return is, let's do like a div, and then we'll do event title and description. Now for the time, I probably want to format it better. I'll probably just put it as is. So event start time to string. And finally, I want to put duration. Notice I'm using the curly braces because I want to actually insert the value into HTML, into my markup. If I would not be using the curly braces, it would mean literally the string event dot duration, which is not what I want. I want the value of this parameter. Okay, I want to get something going on the screen so we can improve this, but basically, I think this will be good. So render event. Okay, let's see how this looks like. I'm expecting something very, very ugly. And we don't want coming soon anymore. Look at this. We have 3 events. This is great. Okay, let's make this not like a one line. And also I noticed that I think our body is not taking all of the screen. Like if I expand my, yeah, main is not taking up the full height. Might want to explore that. So I'm going to go into my index CSS real quick. Ooh, I see. Okay, this has changed since I last saw this. Let's look into how it's done in the coming soon page. So for the coming soon, let's look in here. Anything about height? Yeah, so height 100 VH. Margin top. Okay, maybe we don't worry about this too much right now. We're going to revisit this. For now, I'm just going to, we'll need the CSS anyway, so I'm going to create that file. So calendar.css. And I'm just going to say something like, I don't know, calendar container. So we can style this better. Let's make this a kebab case. Okay, I just want to make this piece of the body stretch to the bottom. That's all I want to do right now. Let's try 100 VH, which stands for viewport height. But I don't know if this will work. Also, we're missing a key prop, which is interesting. Okay, why did you not work? Let's see. So we have our div, the main calendar container. I don't see my height, to be honest. I might need to reload this page or restart the server because I included a new file. Let's be safe here. No, it's still the same. Okay, but at least our height is here, which is good. Or actually, this is the root height. Never mind, this is not the container height. So just to try this out, and by the way, like I'm like trying to show you some tools that I use in day-to-day life. If you are not familiar with these, please ask questions, by the way. But this is pretty common in like web dev using Chrome DevTools, or if you're using other browsers that also have DevTools, and you can just go in to explore the HTML of your website and the CSS and things like this. So I want to just put like height.
It might be a design issue, I guess. The HTML issue, I guess.
Yeah, look, like 100 VH works, right? So I'm not sure why this didn't actually do it. Calendar container. Like, did I copy this right? Yeah, this is fine. Oh, right, because I'm not using, yeah, of course, I'm not using the actual calendar CSS. Whenever you have a CSS file, you need to import it in the, this is a React thing, you need to import it into the file you want to use it in. So I want to import calendar CSS. I hope now if I reload, yeah, we're good. So now we added our style and we have everything set up. You'll see the scroll, which is annoying. This is because our container is 100 view per height, but we also have the menu that already takes up some space. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I'm just going to look up how high is the menu. So in our menu CSS, this should be, oh, interesting. This is constant 50px, right? I think. Okay, maybe I don't worry about this too much. One thing I'll try is just to make height auto, hoping it's going to stretch, but no, this is not going to work. All right, let's do 100 VH. I'll probably fix the styles afterwards. Let's not focus on this too much. Let's make these look better because this really doesn't look good. So I'm going to put a style on, and also I don't want to spend, once again, I don't want to spend too much time on this because this will change and we'll have like a grid and something going. So I'll say event is my class. Actually, let me split the screen into 2 parts. So what do I want? I want it to have a bit of a margin and a padding. So I'll say margin like 2 rem, padding 2 rem. I also don't want this to be 1 line, which will involve wrapping these into their tags. I don't know if H1 will be too aggressive. Probably like an H2 is better. Probably have an H1 above our map saying it's the like upcoming events. Right. So H2 our title, then we just can put this into P tag. And actually these should probably also be in P tags as well. Now that I think about this, let's do fancy stuff here. So in VS Code, you can do, like in any other editor, you can do multi-cursor and edit multiple lines at a time. If you master this, you'll be very productive. Okay, let's see how this looks. All right, a bit better already. It's not very obvious this is duration, to be honest. Okay, that's a bit better. Now, that's what I was talking about. This is very weird. Like, I don't want to render this whole thing. Just to play around with this, if we have a new date, if I have just a new date here and I want to display it to string is what we're currently using, it's going to give you this huge line that I don't really want. What I really want is something like, I think there is a toDate string. Yeah, this is much better. Let's use toDate string. All right, this is a bit shaping up. Let's move upcoming events. Actually, let's make upcoming events centered. I think I'm actually surprised this is, yeah, sure, let's do. I'll put a style on our calendar container H1. So this symbol means that it's the H1 that's directly under my class here. So all H1s that are directly under my class element will have, what is it, text align center, I think. Oops. Yeah, okay, this is better. Okay, I'm gonna say we're done with styling for now. Let's fix this key issue. So what this is telling us is it's saying that each child in a list should have a unique key prop. This is a very common issue if you're rendering a list of elements in React. So basically, when you have a list of elements, React needs to know how to differentiate between them. You need to specify a key prop for each top level element. So when, for example, one of them is deleted, React is smart enough to update its state and keep these two, but it needs to know which one you're deleting and basically differentiate between them. So that's why I'm going to use my ID here as the key. ID event.id. All right, we don't have that error anymore, and we're good to go. I'm actually gonna probably commit this for now. So git add everything, git commit, add basic event list. Cool. Let's bring some action in here. I don't want this hard-coded list of events. I want this to come from an actual like data source somewhere. And for that, we're going to use Firebase. So if you recall, in the first session, we set up this Firebase project, which we're using for hosting the website. So here are all my deployments. We can see that GitHub Actions are actually deploying stuff. So the service that I want to use is called Firestore, and that's Firebase's NoSQL database. And let's set it up and get it going, and I'll explain how to work with it. I've done multiple sessions on this, so if you are curious on like how this works in more detail, please check them out in our YouTube channel, or I mean, The Firebase docs are pretty good as well. But this will allow us to store the actual data somewhere. There's just going to be our database. So I'm going to create a database, and straight up, it's going to ask me some weird stuff about rules, which might seem very confusing at first sight. But this is the language that Firestore provides you with of how you can configure security for your database. So for example, here you can see it's asking me, do you want to start in production mode or test mode? And production mode is, you don't really need to understand all of the syntax, but all it's doing is saying like, hey, all the documents, all reads and writes are false. Don't allow any reads or writes to the database. If you're starting in a test mode, you can allow all reads or writes until a certain timestamp. One or the other, I'll need to change this file at some point, saying that not everybody can access my database, because in the real world, only authorized entities should be able to access your database, not any person from the internet, right? In our case, we only want to allow creation of the events if the person is an admin. And how we're going to determine that is probably through future sessions. I'll add some authentication with GitHub, and we'll set up some admins that way. For now, I'm going to do the wrong thing, which is allowing all reads and writes always, which is extremely bad for production, because this means that anybody can go into my database and do whatever they want. But I just don't want to focus on setting this up right now. I'll probably spend more time in the next session when we're going to be adding authentication, and I'll actually set up some rules that only admins can access our database. So I'm going to go ahead and continue in test mode. And I want to, I mean, yes, central is fine. What other options do we have? Yeah, central is fine. Let's enable this. Give it a few seconds. All right, here we go. So once again, if you have questions to what I'm about to do here, feel free to ask them. I'm answering any questions, honestly, but if you want to go deeper and learn more about this, I've created some sessions previously and some events previously that cover this, as well as there are plenty of resources covering Firestore on the internet. So for my purposes, I'm going to create a new collection called events. And let's add a sample event from what we already know. So we want to have a title of the event. It's a type string, and the value is, I'm just going to steal what I have from here. So we have a title, a description, there's a string. Sorry for this manual entry. We want to have something going here. So the date is actually another type in here. You can select timestamp. This is start time. So let's select today's date, and I'm going to put 18:00. That's the start of this event. And the duration is actually going to be a number. So they don't differentiate between ints and doubles. So I can put like a double in here, and it's going to be fine. Cool. So this should create our events collection, and we have our first event description is setting up the calendar page. Here's my title, start time, duration, so on. And this is the automatic ID that the Firebase gave us. So this is what we're going to be using to instead of what I have in here, right? Okay. So how do we actually fetch this in our codes? In order to do this, I'm going to add a new, to bind my project with this Firebase project. So I'm going to go to my home page and I'm going to add an app here. I'm going to select web and I'm going to call this GDSC website. We already have Firebase hosting. And now what it will spit me back is my Firebase config. So this seems like a pretty frightening object with like an API key that you should probably not expose in your source control. The truth is that this is fine because how Firebase ensures your database secure through security rules that I've already talked about. I might actually even do like a separate session on security rules if anybody's interested. But if you have this object, sure, you can read and write to my database. But if I set up the rules that restrict you from doing that, no matter if you even have this object, you'll need to be authorized, you need to be an admin to access and do destructive actions. So it's my responsibility to set up security rules to prevent this. But long story short, it's fine to include these into source control because this is not really a secret. I mean, sure, you can keep this a secret, but in the end, somebody can deduce this and get access to the database. The way you want to protect your database is through security rules. All right, I'm going to copy this. Everything but the analytics, I guess. And yes, we'll need to install Firebase into our project. So let's do that. So install Firebase. And the place where I'm putting this code is probably in the index.js. This is the starting point of our app. So I think that's a good place to put this in. Don't need this, don't need this. All right. I'll also need the Firestore SDK. Shouldn't have actually deleted those comments because they are pretty useful. Yeah, I'm gonna go here and check out how do I add other libraries. Okay, so we want our cloud Firestore for web. I think let's pick Node.js, but I think, oh, okay, so this is Firebase admin. We really want just the Firestore. I hope it's going to be just in this Firebase package. I haven't done this in a while, to be honest. So I hope that the way we access the database would be something along the lines of db equals, and then they've introduced the new, there used to be one API of how you would do things. And that's what I'm used to. And this is kind of a learning curve for me as well. But they introduced like a new major version of their API where it's more optimized for web, where it's like only going to use what you include in your app. So it reduces the size of the bundles and things like that. So they changed a bit how the code is written. Actually, Firestore is not in here, which is interesting. Let's search for this. So Node.js, Firestore setup. And I think this is what we've seen already. Oh, okay. Maybe it's just not auto importing for some reason. Let's check if that works. Okay, yeah, that's fine. We have this. Then you do get Firestore from, and then you pass the app in. And here you go. You can now use your database. So what does it mean for us? We want to expose the app globally. I'm just thinking how to do this best. I think I'm going to have like a service, our database service, which this is not going to be ideal for now, but we'll roll with it. So we have components, assets, pages, utils. I'm going to add another folder called services. I'm going to add a new file saying Firestore service. And what this will be is probably just, I think it's going to be like a set of functions. Let's try this. I haven't done this in a while. Say Firestore instance. It's going to be null by default, and then we can say something like, so we'll have a function to, for example, get of all our events. So get events. For now, I'm just going to return an empty array from here. We want to export this function, and we want to export the Firestore instance. So I want to say that the Firestore instance is equal to the database. Hopefully this works, and then we can use the Firestore instance in this function and say something like, so this will be an async function. I'm going to say const events reference, and I'm gonna type some magic here. I'm sorry if this is confusing, but once again, check out some other videos if you want to know how this is written. But I think there is like a get. Okay, I need to reference the new API because I don't really remember how to do this. So the docs for Firestore are pretty good as well, if you want to dive into this. So listen for real time. Let's just get data once. I'm going to use web version 9. Okay, so they have these like new set doc and get doc functions. I see. So what if I want to list a collection of things? Yeah, so they have a collection. Okay, cool. So this is pretty much what we're going to do. So I want to get the events collection. It's going to be the collection of the database, and then, so this is going to be our Firestore instance. And also I want to enter the name of the collection that I want, which is events. And then if I want the reference, oh, sorry, if I want to get this collection, so I would use get docs. So I think this code is actually pretty much what we want. So when events reference, so wait, get doc, then I'm passing the events collection. And now I want to just map what we get back to what we want, to the shape we want. So this is a document snapshot of document data. Actually, I think there is a property that we can access, get docs. Oh no, this is iterable. And then for each doc, you can do doc ID, doc data. Yeah, this is cool. So I'm going to map each doc to some certain shape that we want. And this shape is going to be ID is going to be doc.id. And everything else is going to be let's do it by hand, but I think we can just safely like spread the doc data in here. Title, description, doc data, and actually we want the actual title off of this object, right? Description. We have duration. And start date. We'll need to see how dates are mapped. I'm not too sure on that one. Let's just get something going and see where we end up. Okay, so we added this service, and just to recap once again, what it's doing is it keeps track of our database instance. And it also, which I think we might not need, I might think about this a bit more. Like, I think there is a way to always get an app and not store this. But anyway, we have this function that we're going to use in our components to get the events. And what it's doing is getting the reference to the collection of the events, getting all the documents from that collection. This is an asynchronous call. That's why this function is asynchronous. It's going to wait until we get the docs. And then going to map over all the documents in these events. I'm actually going to call these just events. The types are weird, but these are essentially events. And it's going to construct our object. So I think this is all we need to use this. Let's try and change our calendar. Still complaining, still don't really like this, but we'll roll with it. Okay, we can scrap this, or at least comment this out. We don't really need this anymore. What I really want is to use some state in my component, because first on the initial load, it's going to be in the loading state while it waits until it grabs the data from the API. And then when the data is returned, we're going to load the data. And this is a very common pattern that I'm just about to show you. Don't have too much time. I'll try to squeeze it in. But the way you do this in React is with hooks. The ones that we're going to use today, and one of the most popular ones, are use data. So use state, sorry. Okay, let's do const events, and then set events. And this is a very particular syntax you need to follow. Use state, and the initial state will be null. Of course, I don't have access to this. We need to import use state from React. Cool. So what this says is I have a state of events. The state is immutable. You cannot change it. The way you change it is through the call to this function, set events. Now I'm just going to be spitting out these things here. I know this might be confusing for some people. I'll probably point you to places where you can learn this afterwards, but I'm just going to keep going because we have not too much time. So the second one that we're going to use is useEffect. And useEffect is basically trigger the function that I'm going to pass to you when any of the list of the dependencies change. The list of the dependencies is empty, only execute the function once. That's what we want. So yeah, here's my function. Here's my list of the dependencies. What does the function do? The function will actually make the call to our API, to our Firestore service, get the events, and then set the events in our calendar component. So I'm going to say, so the way you do it with async functions is you, I think you do this. You do function load events. There's going to be an async function. And it's going to make a call to const Firestore events, get events from our service. I'm going to await until I get that. Then I'm going to just call our set events and pass the Firestore events in there. This way I'm updating the events in here. And notice these are the same events we're mapping over. So nothing should really change, and we should just get the data off of this. And then we've declared this function, and we just call this function in here, load events. Just because useEffect doesn't support async functions passed to it, it needs like synchronous functions. This is why, I know this is like a very heavy syntax to, if you're seeing this for the first time, and you're lost, that's fine. Don't be discouraged. All right, let's see if this works. I will be very surprised if this works the first time. All right, that's not a good sign. Something crashed. Also, property Firestore instance of object, which is only a getter. Makes sense. I think that's because I'm trying to do that hack with the index. Yeah. Okay, let's think how we can overcome this. We need to store. We need to get the database somehow. Or we need to get the current app. I'm just going to Google this real quick. Firebase, Firestore, get current app. Nope. Yeah, because they already have the DB here. Like, where does the DB come from? I wonder if they have it in like one of the first examples. Because this is fine and all, but where does the DB come from? So essentially want this in here. Does this have anything related to app at all? Firebase app. Get app, that's promising. Try that. What does this do? Get app name, maybe nothing, and then just gets the app. When called with no arguments, the default app is returned. Perfect. This is great. When an app name is provided, the app corresponding to the name is returned. Awesome. So I just can go call get app in here, and this is going to start my database instance, which then can be used for retrieving the collections. Amazing. I don't need this app anymore. Well, actually, I do need this app, but I don't need to assign it to an app. Cool. Let's restart this again. Hope for the best. All right, we didn't crash. And moment of truth, we crashed here. Where did we crash? Cannot read properties of null, reading math. Oh, right, yes, of course. So we set the state in our calendar.js, we set the state, initial state to null, but our events won't be set until we actually call get events in this use effect, which means that initially in the initial load, events map will happen on a null events. This means that if we don't have any events, if no events exist, we want to render something else. And for now, I'm just going to render a loading div. So this should fix the issue, hopefully. All right, well, our loading state is there. We just don't have something is throwing an error still. All right, it's 7 p.m. Probably should be wrapping this up. Okay, I'm gonna spend like a minute trying to figure this out. If I can't, we'll probably just continue in the next session. This is an uncaught and promised Firebase error. So what could be wrong? Let's log some stuff. Let's see where we get even. So do we get here or do we crash before this? So we do get the events collection. Oh, this might be because of how I'm getting the data from a collection. Because here they're doing get docs of a query. But I want to just get docs of a collection. So I mean, like, this step might be wrong. So what does this expect? This expects a reference, a document reference. Oh, I'm also using the wrong function. It's get docs and not get doc. Silly me. All right. Hey, we got our events. We still get events map is not a function. Interesting. We do get our events back. I think we're like one call away from getting this to work. Events, get docs. I mean, in this example, they're just iterating over query snapshot. Oh, they're doing it for each though. They're not doing a map. Okay, how about we do this? I'm gonna try doing this. Still nothing. Okay, events is not iterable. And docs, right? That's what it is. And we got another error. Category properties of undefined to-date string. Awesome. So this is the date. We actually got the data back. I'm going to go to the calendar.js and comment out the line where we get the time, because I think the time is coming in the wrong format. Look at this. We got it to work. So this is actually the doc that comes from the Firebase. If I add something else, let me skip this page and go to our Firestore database. If I add like another document, I'm just gonna go do this real quick with the title, with the description, duration. I think that's everything we need really. Now, if I go here and I update, we now get 2 events. Look at this. This is actually querying our Firebase database. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Or actually, I mean, open for questions. It's been over an hour me trying to figure out how to do this, and you're probably very confused. I apologize for this. But yeah, if you want to a recap of anything that was done or like any questions about the codes, please ask them. I can address them right now if you want. Any questions at all? Great question. How to decide whether it's an async function? So most probably, if you're doing a request to some resource on the internet, it's an async function. So I'm gonna look this up if anything comes up. Async await API. Yes. So I'm probably going to, let me paste this in the chat, give this a read. Oops. Where's the chat? So give this a read, but essentially you want to see if the APIs you're using are synchronous or asynchronous. For example, in my Firestore service, this function, get docs, you'll notice it's returning a promise of some sort. what does a promise mean? A promise means that the data that's going to be returned is going to be returned in the future. Async await API work with promises. This means that I can call my function async and then add an await keyword before the call to the external function. And my code will wait until this function executes, because the network could take a lot of time to come back with the result. And only then it will continue executing all of this. So it's a very nice, clean way ensuring that the code that comes after the await actually already has the data after the network request. If you're new to async await, I'm probably just like check out the document that I sent you, but also research like promises, async await functions and things like that. But right now, like in the modern JavaScript ecosystem, all APIs are set to work with async await. Before that, we used to have like .then and .error and things like that. And you can still do this. Like instead of writing this, I could have changed, like I could have done this .then, and then here's my result. And I'm going to do something with the results. And it's a bit uglier than just adding in awaits. Anyway, I think it's going to be covered in the article I've sent you. So hope that answers it. Cool. Any other questions? I'm going to send some kind of guide, maybe even some React docs on hooks, because I don't know how much experience you guys have with React, but this is some core concepts that you need to understand if you're working with React. So use state hooks, use effect hooks. There are much more useful ones, but these are the most common ones that you can encounter. So yeah. Cool, awesome. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'm probably going to wrap this up. Once again, feel free to contribute or reach out to me on either Discord or GitHub. I'm happy to help or send you some information. I will post this recording on the YouTube channel if you want to rewatch some bits, and obviously the code will be on the GitHub if you want to check it out. So yeah, thanks for joining. I hope this was somewhat useful. This is like,
yeah, actually it is very useful actually. It's just that the React.js, it was the first time we are seeing in detail actually.
yeah, like
But I do understand. I do understand the concept, basic concept. But when you went to the advanced part, so it was a little bit, not confusing, but not able to understand. That's it. Means
yeah,
everything was new.
I realize people here are new to React, and I'm doing a poor job introducing the framework because I'm doing a lot of things in like very fast. So if you don't get something, even if I'm not making it in time and I'm saying that I need to do something real fast, please stop me at any point and ask me questions, because it's more important.
No, actually, it wasn't fast. Actually, it's just that the functions and events and all the features, whatever React and the Firebase database have, we haven't seen actually before. So
Yeah,
there is no point in stopping you actually, because you were going in the right pace. We were understanding what you're doing actually, and what was the concept behind that. Like when you create the database, when you created the fields. So we were so I am understanding that no, yeah, you are creating now data. Sorry, you are creating some document like titles and all. Means you are creating on the database side actually, and you are just trying to fetch those data in the code side. So for that, you have made the connection in the Firestore service.js.
Yep.
Right. Means yeah. In the service file, you just created the connection with the database, and from there you have rendering those data on the JS file in the calendar.js. First, we have hard coded that, but then you made it dynamic. But the only thing was that all the connection functions and all those are actually new things. So it will just take some dating time actually, or just hands-on practice to actually start on doing it.
Yeah, I realized that like Firebase is new to people, even like connecting to the database is new to people, even if somebody had experience like Ashley is pointing out that she had some basic concepts of React, but today was new, and that's good. You hopefully learned something.
Yeah, means it was very interesting actually, Andrew. Means when you were like teaching us when you were actually doing that code, it was actually understandable actually. Means it wasn't like that, no, we are not understanding anything. But yeah, it was very much means at least I know that what you're doing actually means. I wasn't like that out of space that I am not
That's good
understanding.
to hear. Thank you. I will go over this in more detail, and we'll continue building this next session. So keep on attending if you want to learn more. And
yeah, actually I wanted to like contribute in the code as well. So as you mentioned that I have to write you right on the GitHub, right? That if I want to work on particular.
Yeah, I'll create some issues for people to work on, some more tickets, and we can you can comment on whatever you want to take on. So
Yeah, means definitely that will be cool, right? Means working alongside with you, yeah. That will be cool actually. That will be like I can learn many more things actually.
of course, yeah, you're always welcome.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna wrap this up for.
Thank you, Andre, once again.
See you guys.
See you.
Bye-bye.